All right, so you can just kind of have your block somewhere in your general vicinity. We'll use that a little bit later in the practice. But for now, let's have a seat and just get centered in. So finding a nice straight aligned spine, let your shoulders relax, let your jaw relax. Maybe even close the eyes, take a deep breath in. Big exhale through the mouth. And just take this opportunity to kind of settle into your skin. Notice how every part of you is feeling. Notice if there's anywhere that you might feel tension in your body. Notice if there are parts of your body that feel really open and pliable. Just be aware. And then let's begin to breathe a little slower, a little deeper, maybe even an ujjayi breath if you can manage that. And then check in with your thought processes. Check in with your emotions. Notice what your energy feels like right now. So we use all of that information that we kind of gather about ourselves to formulate our intention. Basically, we're trying to decide, does any of that need to change or alter or transform? And we can use that to help set our intention for our practice. So you take a moment with your palms together in front of your heart and be very clear about what it is that you need from your yoga practice today. And when you are clear on that, take an extra deep breath in. And a big exhale through the mouth. Let's just relax the arms. We're going to do a couple of really slow shoulder rolls back. So we're going to be doing some heart opening today, some gentle heart opening. And what I'd like you to do is just start by inhaling and squeezing your shoulders up by your ears. And as you exhale, you squeeze the shoulder blades together and pull them down. Inhaling, shoulders are up by the ears. Exhaling, shoulder blades squeeze together and pull down the back. Do that one more time. Good. And then we're just going to transition onto our hands and knees. Do a few cat-cow stretches, inhaling to arch and exhaling to round, and really notice how your chest and upper back are feeling here. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and take child's pose. So as we take our forehead down and let the hands rest back by our feet, palms up, we feel that our back is rounded. And so in this position, your upper back, or you can even think of it as the back side of your heart, is nice and spacious. Really feel into that. And then we're going to scoot forward onto our stomachs and come into Sphinx. And yes, we're lengthening our low back, but I also want you to really feel into the front of your chest. So now think of it as the front side of your heart. Pull that forward. Really let the shoulders pull back and the heart pull forward. And then we'll take our first downward facing dog. So after you've had a moment to do any little movements that you need to do, we'll find stillness with the tailbone reaching up and back and the heels pressing down. Then I'd like you to bring your focus to feeling space on the front and back side of the heart in your downward facing dog. So there's no compression anywhere, just a lot of space in the upper torso. Slowly walk your feet forward. Keep your knees bent. Totally relax your neck. Let's just hang and ragdoll for a few breaths. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead, stretch up, 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 lift up, and stay up. So spread your fingers, lift your heart. If it's hard, if your neck, look up. We're gonna hold this for 3 more breaths, just lifting your heart towards the sky. And exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So as we're doing all of this heart opening, we want to stay really rooted and grounded. So just take a moment and feel the bottoms of your toes, the bottoms of your feet, everything really connected downward. Feel how rooted and supported you are, how grounded and centered. And then inhale, reach the arms up, maybe even lift the rib cage and slightly roll it back. Exhale, fold all the way forward to your standing forward bend. Now I want you to hold your forward bend for a moment. We're going to be doing that throughout practice because our forward bends are perfect counter poses to the heart opening that we'll be doing. Look up and lengthen. And then back down. We're going to step back with the right foot first. So we have a left foot forward lunge. Just hold that for a moment. And then drop your right knee down. Bring the arms up and overhead. Tilt your pelvis back, lift the rib cage, let the hips move forward. And then maybe lift the rib cage a little higher and slightly roll it back. Maybe allow the arms to open out to the side with the palms up. Maybe bend the elbows and start to squeeze them towards each other in the low back. You should really feel your heart opening here, and then bring both hands down, either side of your left foot. Fully extend your left leg, flex the ankle and the toes if you can, pull your heart forward. And then from here, left knee meets right knee. And give yourself a little tail wag. So from here, those of you that are doing vinyasas, you're welcome to do them. We'll be doing a variety of things in place of cobra or sphinx. But you should be able to get a whole vinyasa in and then join us back again if you're doing that. Those of you that are with me, just follow along and move into child's pose for a breath. Then we're going to scoot forward into a low cobra. So if you can, your hands are going to be under your shoulders. You're going to lift your chest just a little, but pull the shoulder blades down, pin the elbows by the side, and pull your heart forward. And then downward facing dog. And again, once you get into your down dog, bring your focus back to the space in your upper torso. And then step forward with your right foot. We'll just hold that lunge for a moment. Drop your left knee down, raise the arms up and overhead. Tilt the pelvis back, let the hips move forward. And then once you find stretch in the front of the left hip, maybe lift the rib cage and roll it back slightly. Maybe allow the arms to drop open to the sides with the palms facing up. Maybe start to bend the elbows as though you're going to pull them together behind you. And then we'll take both hands down, either side of the right foot. Fully extend your right leg, flex your ankle and toes, lengthen your spine, Breathe. And then bend your right knee so that you can step forward to your standing forward bend. Remember, we're going to be holding them for a couple of breaths throughout practice today. And then inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Maybe even reach back, and then exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Hold it for an extra breath. Inhale, look up and lengthen. And exhale, back down. So this time, stepping back with the left foot. Just hold your lunge for a moment. Drop your left knee down, and this time we're going to come up and interlace the fingers behind the back. I want you to keep your hands kind of on your low back or on your bum. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Let your hips move forward, now only to the degree that's comfortable for you. I want you to imagine that those hands are going to kind of slide down the back of the left thigh. The hips continue to move forward. And you want to keep your shoulder blades squeezed. Come on up from that. Put your left hand on the ground. Take your right hand up towards the ceiling. Draw a couple of big circles in the air with your right arm. And then see if you can find center and maybe roll your heart open a little bit. In other words, you're kind of starting to let that right arm drop behind you a wee bit so that you feel it on the right side of the chest. Right hand comes back down. Take your right knee to meet your left knee. Those of you with me will go ahead and move into child's pose. The rest of you can do a quick vinyasa. And then we're going to scoot forward onto our stomachs. Bring your feet all the way together. Interlace your fingers behind your back. We're going to press down through the tops of the feet. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and slide the hands down underneath the backside, kind of like we were just doing in a kneeling position. So your feet are on the ground, just the chest is lifting and your shoulder blades are squeezing. One more breath. Release down, downward facing dog. Feel the space in the upper torso. Left foot steps forward. And we'll go ahead and drop the right knee down. Come on up. Pelvis tilts back and moves forward. This time we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back, and just like we did on the first side, hands stay low. So you want to squeeze the shoulder blades together, let the hips move forward, and then only as much as you can start to slide your interlaced fingers down the back of your right thigh. Keep your shoulder blades squeezed together. Come on up from that. Right hand to the mat, left hand towards the ceiling. Draw a couple of circles. Make sure you go both ways. And then let that left arm find center again and maybe roll open a little bit or roll back. So you want to feel the stretch on the left side of your chest here. Left hand comes back down. We're going to step forward to our standing forward bend. And you guessed it, hold it for a couple of breaths. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. And as you exhale, palms together in front of the heart. From here, we're gonna take a big step back with our left foot. Widen the stance if you need to. We're coming into warrior one. So your right knee is bent, your left heel is flat, you're trying to get your hips to rotate forward, arms are up and overhead. Maybe lift the chest, roll it back slightly. Maybe let the arms open out to the side, palms up. Maybe go ahead and interlace your fingers behind your back. This time squeezing shoulder blades together and lifting the arms a little bit. See if you can fold forward. Taking your right shoulder to your right thigh, relaxing the neck, and really reaching those arms up towards the ceiling, opening up the chest. Come all the way back up from that. Straighten your right leg, release the arms. I want you to put your right hand at your right hip or at your waist. You're gonna lengthen forward. Take your left hand, it can be on your shin. It can certainly be on a block since I have you using blocks today, or it can be all the way down on the foot or the floor, but we're gonna keep the right hand at the waist and just try and roll the right shoulder open towards the ceiling. Both hands down to the mat. Go ahead and step straight back to downward facing dog. Those of you doing vinyasas, off you go. The rest of us are going to drop to the knees and take child's pose. Then we're going to scoot forward onto our stomachs. This time, I'd like you to bring your hands down by your hips, palms up. We're gonna raise the arms, the legs, the head, and the chest all at the same time. Up you go, lift. And then lower down and find downward facing dog. From this downward facing dog, you're gonna walk your feet forward. Hold your forward bend for a couple of breaths. And then we're gonna inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. And exhale, palms together in front of the heart. This time, stepping right leg back. Widening the stance if you need to. Warrior one with the left foot forward. Get those hips squared off if you can. The arms are up and overhead. Maybe roll the rib cage back. Maybe let the arms open out, palms up. And then if you can, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. This time squeezing shoulder blades together and lifting the arms, opening up the heart. If you can, come on up. Try and get your left shoulder onto your left thigh. Humble warrior. Relax the neck. Really reach those arms up, up, up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to come all the way up from that. Straighten your left leg. Left hand is going to go at the hip or left side of the waist. Your right hand is going to slide down your left shin, or it can be on your foot or it can be on your block. We're going to keep the left hand at the waist and begin to roll left shoulder open towards the ceiling. Bring both hands down to the mat and step straight back. Downward facing dog. Focusing on all that space in your upper torso. Those of you doing vinyasas, off you go again. Those of you with me, drop to your knees. Take child's pose. From here, we're going to scoot forward onto our stomachs. This will be the most advanced pose that we do. And the reason I'm saying that is because if it's not appropriate for you, you can do any of the other things we've done here. You can do Sphinx, you can do Cobra, you can do that last one that we did, which was to raise the arms, legs, head, and chest, Flying Locust. So anything that works for you is fine. But if you feel like you can, then we're actually going to bend the knees and reach back and try and clasp the feet or ankles and use leg strength to open the heart. So we push our feet back to lift the heart up. And then release, downward facing dog stretch. Create lots of space in the upper torso. And walk your feet forward. Standing forward, bend for a couple of breaths. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. So you've been doing a lot of interlacing of the fingers behind the back. That means that your body is prepared for this odd variation of dancer pose that we're going to do. Now, if you are having a balance challenge today, you might want to stand with one shoulder, like one side against a wall. If possible, I'm going to ask you to grab your foot with both hands. Now, that may not be possible if your shoulders don't like it. So if that's the case, ignore me and do dance the way you always do. But if you can, we're going to use our leg strength to open the chest one more time, kind of like we did in Dhanurasana, which means bow pose, except we'll be standing. I want you to stand on your left foot first, if you can. So basically what this would look like, if you are able, is you're going to grab your right foot with both hands. It's like having fingers interlaced behind the back, but you got your foot in there. You tilt your pelvis, and then you push the foot back to open up the chest. Now, you don't have to lean with this, by the way. This is enough. If you want to lean, that's fine. But you're pushing strongly with your right foot so that the chest is opening. Come on back up, put your right foot back down. And we'll try the same thing on the other side. So stand on your right foot. If you can, you're grabbing your left foot with both hands. You're tilting the pelvis back, lifting the chest, and pressing back very strongly with that left foot. So when the foot moves back, the shoulders and the chest open. Come on back up and release. Roll your shoulders back. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a big inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold all the way forward, standing forward bend, and you know you gotta hold it here for a couple of breaths. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. So we're going to move back onto our hands and knees. And we're just going to work our half part opening pose. So I want you to bring your left forearm across the front of the mat. Your forehead's going to rest on it. Your right arm's going to reach out really straight. Tailbone's going to pull back. And you're just going to allow that right armpit to kind of drape down towards your back. Come on up and we'll just switch sides. Right forearm across the front of the mat, forehead rests on it, left arm really strongly reaches out. Keep that left arm super straight. Tailbone pulls back and the left armpit kind of drapes down towards the mat. Come on up from that. Give yourself a little tail wag if you need it. And then we're just going to go into really traditional threading of the needle to open up the upper back again. So inhale your right arm up, and as you exhale, scoop it underneath you. Keep your left hand where it is so you can gently press into that right shoulder blade region, and then breathe. Come on out of that. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, scoop it underneath you. Press and roll a little bit. And then come on out of that. Give yourself a little tail wag. Those of you doing the regular vinyasas, it's your last one and you get to do it your way. Those of you with me, we're going back to the yummy gentle one, all the way into your child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. And then we'll just scoot forward into Sphinx, lengthen our spines, pull our hearts forward. And maybe just notice this Sphinx should feel considerably different from the first one you did. Hopefully things are a lot looser and more open. And then let's take our final downward facing dog. So we're pressing the hips up and back, pressing the heels down, and then making sure that we have a lot of space in the upper torso. So we're not squeezing shoulder blades together. The chest feels open and the upper back feels open. And then you can just walk your feet forward. Have a seat with your legs extended in front of you. Take a moment like we usually do in the staff pose to just kind of check in. See how things are feeling so far. Now, normally when I have you do seated forward bends, I have you lengthen forward. Today, I'm actually going to ask you to kind of curl and round forward, but I'd like you to do it very mindfully and very slowly because it can be somewhat exciting if you have neck or upper back issues. So let's all set this up the same way. The first thing we're going to do is Jalandhara Bandha, which is actually a chin lock. I want you to tuck your chin into that little notch in your collarbone and keep it there. And then very slowly start to roll down. Take your time. It's like you're trying to put the top of your head on your knees. If anything feels painful or unpleasant, please come out of it. And then slowly come on back up from that and just roll the shoulders back a couple of times. We're going to take our legs into a nice wide V. Now, if you have very tight hips and you usually have to keep your hands behind you for stability on the sit bones, then that's what you're going to do with your hands today and just squeeze the shoulder blades together. For those of you who can stay on your sit bones and usually have your hands in front of you or on your legs, not today. We're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. You've already been doing this a lot. Squeeze the shoulder blades, raise the arms up, lift the chest, and just let gravity carry the chest forward. You want to keep your fingers interlaced. You want to keep reaching the hands towards the ceiling and just allow your torso to go forward. Remember, if your hands are behind you, that's perfect. Just kind of squeeze the shoulder blades together. We have 3 more breaths here. And then we're just going to come on up from that. Slowly roll the shoulders back. Bring your legs together. Give them a good wiggle. So the good news is we're not doing a lot of seated postures today. Yay! Just come into an easy cross-legged position if you can. If you need to keep your legs straight, that's fine. We're going to do a super gentle seated twist, and then you get to lie down, and we'll do some stuff with the blocks. So we're going to twist to the right first. Your right hand should be right behind you. Your left hand is going to be on the right knee. Your spine should be super straight and tall. And as you exhale, you just twist to look over the right shoulder. So what we're basically doing is ensuring that our spine is relatively neutral before we lie down. We've done a lot of extension, which means back bending. We've done some flexion, which is forward bending. And we just want to do this little bit of rotation now to make sure that we are neutral. Let's go ahead and return to center. And we go to the other side. Left hand is just behind the center of our backside. Right hand is on the left knee. We're lengthening the spine. And then as we exhale, twisting to the left. You want to try and keep your shoulders relaxed. Try and keep the spine straight. And rotate back around. You can extend your legs, give them a little wiggle if you need to. And then grab your block, make sure that it's within reach. And go ahead and roll onto your back for a moment, hugging the knees in and rocking side to side. So when you're on your back and you're hugging your knees like this, it's almost like a forward bend. So you want to just kind of roll. And then my suggestion is not to sit straight up from here, but to kind of roll to one side and prop yourself up a moment, because we're going to grab our block and we're going to use the block underneath our back. You may also use a rolled up towel or blanket if that's more comfortable for you. Now, if you have back issues, you're going to go at the flat level. If you have pretty happy back, you're going to go at mid-level. I don't think anybody in this class should be doing the highest level, so we're not going to talk about that. The first position is going to be across our back. The way I like to set this up and the way I would ask you to do it is to have your knees bent, your feet flat. You grab your block and you kind of put it where you're going to want it, which is far above the low back. It should be almost at the bottom of your shoulder blades, and you can just kind of hang on to it as you lean back. So now my block is on the floor. I can reposition it a little bit. And then I'm going to start to recline backwards. Now, for those of you with neck issues, you might need a second block or a pillow or something underneath your head. If you don't have one available, you can interlace your fingers behind your head and hold your neck up. I don't want you to feel neck strain, okay? But if you're comfortable with it, you can allow the head to drop back and the arms to open out, and then you simply relax. You keep your knees bent and you relax. So what you should feel is if you reach your hands down, you'll feel the bottom points of your rib cage protruding upward. You'll feel the muscles in your chest stretching if you have your hands out to the side with your palms up. And you'll feel even more of a stretch if you breathe deeper than you normally do. We're going to take about 4 more breaths here. As much as you can, you just relax and let the block do the work to open the heart. One more breath here. And then listen, please don't sit straight up. I much prefer that you just roll off of your block to one side. Use your hand in front of your chest and kind of press yourself back up to the same position you were in to start. And then we're just going to do the same thing, but we're going to flip the block by 90 degrees. We're going to change the orientation. So it was running across the back. Now we're going to run it up and down the length of the spine. Again, flat level or mid-level, and you can set it up the same way. Knees are bent. I like to set mine up and then put the edge about the bottom part of my shoulder blades. So you should definitely have the block where your rib cage is. Low back, the lumbar spine is not on the block. And the same deal. You just lie back, let the arms open, and now the block is running up the length of your spine. Again, please support your head if your neck is unhappy. We're not trying to cause any neck strain. We just want the chest and the front of the shoulders to open. We want to be able to do it in a relaxed way so that we can breathe deeper than normal and allow our breath to open us and create even more space. One more breath in this position. And then the same thing applies. Please don't sit up. You'll kind of undo everything. You want to just roll off your block to one side. And then you can just kind of move your block out of the way because you're going to stay on your back. Hug your knees in. Rock side to side. Now, for those of you who may have felt a little bit of neck strain, I got you covered. We're going to traction the neck right now, and we're going to use our block to do it. If you were using a rolled up towel or blanket, that should still work for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the block at the flattest level and put it underneath our head, kind of like a pillow. And then I want you to fully extend your legs all the way out onto the ground. Take a moment and kind of feel your face. Like I want you to know where you are in space. This is proprioception. So we want to try and get our face parallel to the floor. In other words, I don't want your chin pointing at the ceiling, nor do I want it tucked into the notch in your chest. You just want your head really neutral. Then you're going to internally rotate your thighs. That means you're going to try and make your knees point at each other, kind of like being pigeon-toed. Your hands are going to reach straight up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to push through the back of your head and your pelvis and simply lift the rib cage up. So basically, there's space underneath your shoulder blades. This should be easier than you think it would be. Keep your thighs rotated in. Keep pressing through the back of the head and your tailbone. You're just lifting your upper back up off the floor. 2 more breaths. Just go ahead and lower down, move your block out from underneath your head. Pause for a moment. And then bend your knees, put your feet flat. Big toes touch, heels separate. Now we're going to use our block for a supported bridge. Depending upon your back, if you need to keep it really gentle and neutral, you'll go low level. If you have a relatively normal or semi-healthy back, you can go mid-level on this. So we lift the hips. We slide the block up underneath our pelvis. So again, I'm like a broken record, I know, but you do not want the block in your low back. You want it supported underneath the bony plate of your hips, so the backside of the pelvis, right? Your back should feel pretty neutral. This is relatively effortless. However, there's a slight amount of effort in just a wee bit of a rib cage lift. So I still want this to be predominantly chest opening. So don't have your hips on the block and be caving your chest in. You kind of want to poke your heart up towards the ceiling just a little bit. And then simply relax and breathe extra deep breaths. One more breath here. Now, if you've got your block at the lowest level, you're perfect and you're going to stay where you're at. Those of us that have it at mid-level, we're going to flip the block down to the lowest level. We still want it underneath our pelvis. And then you might need to adjust the block, you might not. We'll just see what happens. But the idea here is we're going to let the legs float up towards the ceiling. Now, if you feel like you're having to hold the legs up, then you're going to want to scoot your block a tiny bit closer to your tailbone or the foot end of your mat. Basically, what's happening is the block is making your pelvis tilt. So it should be zero effort. Your legs are just kind of floating up towards the ceiling, and you're not really doing anything but enjoying it. So this is Vipariti Karani, which means legs up the wall. But the cool thing is we're not doing it on the wall. All you need is a block. So enjoy this for a few breaths. It's actually really good for your whole body, but it's also really nice for your heart muscle. It's an ever so slight difference, but your heart just doesn't have to work quite so hard to pump the blood when you're in this position. That's why if you've ever known anyone that got lightheaded, they tell you put your feet up the wall. That's why. It just gives your body a wee bit of a break. So let's take a few more breaths here and enjoy. So we're just going to slowly bend the knees, put the feet back onto the mat, lift the back side up, move the block, hug your knees in. You can rock side to side for a minute. That should feel pretty good. And then we're going to use the block at the skinniest level between the knees. Super gentle reclined spinal twist. Let both knees drop to your right. Let your left arm open out to the left with your palm up towards the ceiling. And then just relax. So even though it is a very gentle spinal twist, it's also a gentle heart opener for the left side. So just notice what the left side of your chest feels like here. And just enjoy some nice slow breaths. Two more breaths on this side. On your next inhale, you're going to bring your knees back up. As you exhale, go ahead and just let them drop on over to the left. Let your right arm open out to the right, palm faces up. And same thing here, you're just relaxing in a gentle reclined twist, but you're also checking in with right side of the chest. And then just breathing. One more deep, slow breath in and out. And then on your next inhale, come on back up. And you can just set your block off to the side. You're finally done with it. Hug your knees into your chest and rock side to side. So just taking a moment, if you like, to reach down and grab the outside edges of your feet and kind of wiggle around in happy baby. You have primarily focused on your heart today. You had a little bit of hip work, but not a lot. So this is also an opportunity to do any other moves that you feel like you might need. If your hips need a little extra love today, you've got time. You have a few breaths left. Do whatever you need to do. And then when you feel like you're ready, you'll go ahead and just let the soles of your feet come together on the mat. Let your knees drop open. We're going to bring our arms up and over our heads, onto the floor, basically over our heads. I'd like you to interlace your fingers, but extend your index fingers. So our final little baby back bend, final heart opener. As we inhale, we're going to strongly reach through the index fingers and press the knees towards the ground. You should feel your rib cage lift. You should feel slight heart opening. I'd like you to take extra deep breaths into that. And then on your next exhale, relax your body, unlace the fingers, bring the hands below the height of the shoulders. Take a deep breath in, and now you're going to press your low back into the mat. So we're flattening out our low back, tilting the pelvis back so that we can help lengthen low back muscles. On your next exhale, relax that. And then we'll do that one more time. So inhale, press your low back into the mat, just flatten it out. Keep breathing normally. And then on your next exhale, release. Begin to extend your legs, separate your feet, lengthen your spine. Make sure today that the hands are below the heart and that the palms are facing up. Let your jaw relax, let your eyes close, let your forehead smooth out. The belly goes soft, the heart is open and soft. Take a deep breath in. Exhale it out through your mouth. Just allowing everything to let go. As you're feeling your body sink a little bit into the floor, notice that your breathing starts to slow down and become more shallow. And I'd like you to just bring your awareness to the center of your chest. So we've been doing all of this heart opening, chest opening. And in much the same way that we create a healthier body by creating more space, we also create a more healthy emotional life by creating more space. So as you're just watching your breath in your Shavasana today, I'd like you to imagine that each time you breathe in, you're creating more space in the center of your chest, more space around your heart, not only the muscle, but more space in your emotional, energetic heart. Each time you breathe in, you can feel yourself expand. And you maintain that space as you exhale, and the next breath in makes it even larger. So for your next several breaths, just creating vast space in your heart center. As you're creating all of this space in your heart, I want you to just notice how you feel emotionally. Notice that it is in this place and in this way, this spacious heart center, by creating space, that we find equanimity, that we find calm and peace, that we find that inner sense of absolute equanimity. So when we have all of this space, every emotion, every feeling can exist, and none are dominant. None takes precedence over the other. So there is a sense of peace. When we close ourselves off, we start to squeeze off, and there's limited space. And there's usually one dominant emotion. And then we have strong feelings. And then we're no longer calm. So finding space in the heart, creating space in the heart, creates our inner peace. I want you to feel that for these next few breaths. And then notice how that spaciousness in the heart and that equanimity trickles up to the mind. There's spaciousness in the mind, and there's no one dominant thought. Trickles down into the body. There's space in our physical being. Nothing overwhelming. We can relax. So creating space in our heart center can bring balance back to all areas of our lives. Start to feel back into your body on the mat. Start to move the fingers and toes a little bit. Deepen your breath a little bit. Take that bigger inhale, spread your fingers and toes, and then when you're ready, you're going to exhale through the mouth with a sigh and just relax your fingers and toes. And then breathe in even deeper and stretch out, fullest length. Exhale, relax. And then bend your knees, whether that means hugging them into your chest or just letting your feet be on your mat. Just let your knees bend for a moment. Go ahead and roll to your right side. And then press yourself up into your seated position. And when you come back to the seated position, we take the opportunity to kind of check in. So we check in at the beginning of class, and then we set our intentions. And then we check in at the end of class. And without judgment, we just observe. Did anything change? Did anything transform? Were we able to honor and receive our intention? And we don't judge it, we just observe, and then we kind of let that go. So since we've been working with our heart space today, we're going to do a different kind of pranayama, a different kind of breath work, and it is a heart breath. It's not a particular method of breathing, but rather a visualization of breathing. So we're going to breathe in and out of the heart, but we're going to do it kind of in a circular way. Meaning the breath is continuous. I want you to think of it, it's almost as though you're at the center of a vortex. When you inhale, you're going to be inhaling into the center of your chest. And when you exhale, you're going to be exhaling out the back of the upper back, but it's like it circles around. So the breath is coming in and going out continuously. Wherever you need to focus or make this visual work for you is fine. But the idea is that we circulate our energy. It's like we're a closed circuit, and yet it's also part of this bigger energy. So that's where we get our life force from. So as you're inhaling, imagining the breath is coming into the center of the chest. And imagining that it's going out the back side of your heart, but circling back around and coming in and going out. So it's almost like you have two circles going at the same time. So nice straight spine, just slow, deep breathing through the nose, visualizing inhaling through the front side of your chest, visualizing exhaling through the back side of the upper back. And just go ahead and allow your breath to go back to what you're used to. Inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And pause for a moment, just notice how you feel overall as a result of your practice, as a result of your relaxation and creating space around your heart, as a result of breathing the way that we were just breathing, as a result of simply paying attention to yourself. And then we're going to bring the palms together in front of the heart. This beautiful heart that we spend an entire hour creating space in. And we're going to have gratitude for that. Gratitude for the heart. Gratitude for the space in the heart. Gratitude for the ability to create the equanimity, the inner calm, the peace that we crave and need. Take one more huge inhale through the nose. Big happy sigh through the mouth. We bring our palms together at our foreheads, and it reminds us to be present, to just be in the moment. We bring our palms together in front of our mouths. This reminds us to speak our truth. We bring our palms together in front of our hearts. Reminds us to always keep our hearts open so that we can experience kindness, compassion, and unconditional love. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.